Hey everyone, my name is Dan Shimolinski. People like to call me Shimmy, and you can too. I am a bassist, sound designer, and composer living in Los Angeles, and we are back in my studio checking out another incredible library for Soundpaint. This is a part of the Forgotten Voices series, and today we will be listening to the voice of Terrie. Now this is a jam-packed library full of various styles, genres, phrases, and improvisations, all done by the brilliant Terrie Odabi, who's been a friend of Trolls for over a decade. Stylistically, you'll be hard-pressed to find another singer that can cover this much ground at such a high caliber. There are literally thousands of phrases in this library, and this is the result of super deep attention to detail, spending several days capturing every direction she wanted to go. Personally, I think it's a joy to work with this library. There are so many fun little nuggets in here, and you can clearly tell that Terrie not only likes to stretch her voice, but also her imagination. So let's take a deep dive into the voices of Terrie. Now get ready to hold on to your hats when I tell you that this library comes with 117 parts. That has got to be a top 5 contender on the scoreboard, I think. And one thing I really appreciate is they're just labeled beautifully, categorized in genre, followed by the type of phrase or sound effect she was going for. So we have African, an ambiance part, gospel parts, soul parts, and finally vocal effects. But you can see as I'm scrolling here, there's such a huge variety of sounds. From a sound design perspective, I really do appreciate when the actual phrases are written out like this, because maybe I want to grab an O sound, maybe I want an E sound, maybe I want to filter that down and have that kind of in the background of an underscore and a bunch of reverb. And it's just awesome to be able to just see some big vowels and, you know, how many syllables, and everything's just right there ready to go. It's funny because I wish I could show you all these parts, because I feel like her range is so massive that it's almost a disservice to show you just one or two. So I'm just going to randomly pick a few to give you the vibe of each stylistic indicator, so you can kind of get a feel for what this library sounds like and what Terrie sounds like. So no talking, just going to kind of go through these. Keep your eye on that parts window so you can see exactly what I'm playing.
Congo Congo apa, Congo atu, Congo apa, Congo apa, Congo apa.
Okay, I lied. I'm going to talk a little bit. Check out how many slight differences there are between that one single phrase. I mean, whether she's coming from above or below, how quickly she's letting off, and with what inflection. It's just such a huge variety. It's super creative. I think you'll find that with most of these parts and phrases. It almost is a theme and variation kind of approach. Okay, now I'm done talking. Let's get back to business.
Ne ki ne I ko ki ko ki ne ki ne ki I ko ne ki ko ne elala he manahi ai bebelano ai elala.
That's awesome.
Hula hulele, hula hulele, hula hulele, hula hulele. Congonia, 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 Congonia. Le no, I single no, I single no, I say, I single no, I
vibrato. Yeah.
Ah. Hey.
Oh, yeah. Man, these have such a natural groove to them. I mean, I can just hear context for all of these. Such an insane amount of variety here, and it's all great stuff. So that's just kind of a real quick rundown, kind of randomly picking and choosing from each category. But let's pop over to the program section where we can see some of this stuff in action. Before we get into the real crazy stuff, I just want to cover a technique that I used in some of the programs that I made for this library. I was tasked with handling kind of the main programs, or the ones that are kind of just ideal treatments of reverb, compression, EQ, but I also used the time rack on all of them, and I'm about to show you why. Let's pick this one here. So this is the main part that I did for the Elele part. As you can see, just some reverb, just a little bit of plate. But in the rack section, we have the time module, and I tried to dial this into a place where my mod wheel is reverse behavior mapped to the time speed of the part. So it is going to it's going to get slower as I raise my mod wheel. My intention with this was really dialing it in to kind of extend a vowel, almost acting as like a vocal sustainer. And I actually found it worked really well. So let's start with a phrase that's kind of in the shorter realm of things. This part is full of mainly shorter phrases, just little right? So let's say I wanted to kind of accentuate or sustain that middle vowel, that le, that e sound. If I want to bring that out even more, I can raise my mod wheel at just the right time to create sort of a sustain effect. Check this out. Did you catch it? Isn't that awesome? And you can really dial in your attack here to kind of just fine tune where you want that extension to be. But it works really well. Let's check out this one. Another main part, same deal here, slightly different reverb. I did an individual EQ for all of these parts. I tried to choose parts that maybe had some kind of complex vowels or areas where there might be buildup, or I found that there were frequencies that really just made the part shine if accentuated. But let's check out that sustain one more time. So I can really pick and choose which vowels I want to extend. It's so cool. Let's find a short one. Hold on. Cool. So by using that mapping, I can literally in real time extend some of these vowels. And it doesn't sound super bit crushy or ring moddy or like, you're chopping up the sample rate. It just works. Let's start with this one, which is utilizing the despair part. I believe this is the programming debut of one of our amazing producers, Marissa. And it's a good one. We got some grain reverb into another reverb, some EQ here, a touch of scatter delay. Oh, I love it. Very tasteful. And then compressor to finish it off. Let's check it out. So much emotion, so beautiful, and you are rewarded for the more stuff you put on it, the more sauce, the more unique Atmos vibes you can add to the incredible timbres of Terrie's voice. I want to check out this one here. This one's called Magic Kehuse? Kehuse? Probably not, but close enough. This is kind of wild. We have two parts that are morphed together here, one an octave down, to match a third part which is being reversed. And Mod Wheel controls the morph amount. This is going to be very interesting. Super excited to hear this. That's awesome. I gotta unpack this one. Let's turn all these puppies off here and just hear what everything sounds like. I want to hear what this morphing part sounds like. It really does depend on which key you play. But in general, it seems like when the morph is more towards part 2, it's kind of more muffled. So that's almost like a brightness darkness control. And then this reverse part. It's so quiet, but it's in there. It's just adding like a little low rumble. That's so interesting. You start to bring in these effects here. That's a big one. Wash City. Awesome. Get experimental. The parts in and of themselves are already experimental, but the more you play with it, the more you're rewarded. One thing you're going to notice is so many of these programs are just kind of like single parts, and I think that's kind of a testament to just how good the raw sounds are, just playing with an individual part and really milking it through a beautiful EQ, beautiful reverb. Let's do another one of Marissa's here. Yeah, so you can really put a filter first if you want to control just how much you can make out of the phrase. Sometimes it's really cool to just kind of filter it down and get the essence of it, the timbre, without necessarily being able to pick up any vowels. Awesome. I want to check out Troll's treatment here of the ambience part because it's just so cool, and throwing it through 2 reverbs with some EQ control. Still got it. Makes it even more fun. beautifully tailored ambient part, but you could kind of make that vibe, I think, from most of these phrases with enough processing in the effects section. Vibes. Wow. This one's kind of cool. It's called Frozen in Time, and it features 2 parts with the time rack all the way to freeze. That's awesome. So they're using 1 note stretch here on both of these parts, just ooze. So it's kind of like synth voice kind of choral thing happening. It's super, super cool because you are getting so many different phrases sung with slight differences. You know, you kind of have to just pack it in as you do on the keyboard. It's not all stretched perfectly to pitch. So it is cool to kind of mess around with it in this way. And the freeze just gives it a nice long sustain. Great to do with ooze. Let's check this one out. This one's called Incarnation Cold. This stuff is just great source material if you want to go into that zone, that kind of spooky, atmospheric, setting a scene, kind of little ghost whispers, it almost sounds like. Using 3 parts here through some very awesome, tasteful treatment, that just works. It's amazing that this library is the exact same library that gives us stuff like this. Awesome. We'll close out with this one. This looks very fun. Another one by Marissa. This one's called Whispers. Pretty drastic EQ. 3 instances of shimmer reverb. That might be a new record. Really spreading out the stereo image. We've got an optional gate. We'll turn that on and see what that does. And 2 parts here. One called Incarnation and one which is the vocal effects scatting. In reverse. Let's check it out. Woo! That is awesome. That's a good note to end on. So aside from just an incredible piece of documentation capturing one of the most dynamic, rich, emotional voices in such a deep, thoughtful way, this library provides you with so much ground to start building something beautiful like this. The word versatile truly feels like an understatement when dealing with this much quality content. It really is thousands of phrases, and yes, you can use those phrases in their respective contexts as they're labeled in gospel music and soul music, but how fun to just take it in this complete opposite direction and use this stuff as the ultimate sound design tool. I wasn't at the recording session for this library, but I'm imagining the phrase, "Oh, you can do that too?" was said quite a bit because the range is ridiculous and it's so much fun to play with. Highly recommend you pick this up. Vocal libraries in general are just so useful to have in your bag, and I had a ton of fun exploring the many, many voices of Terrie with you all today. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. This is Shimmy, signing out. Take care.